I thought that he said was honestly is what I do on my day to day. I try to read um, everything and anything that I can by authors that I like.
Yep.
And that's what he said that was really important is
Yep.
just try to read as much as you can. Um, and be creative about that.
Yep.
Um, he offered a reading list that Dr. Greene put on Blackboard, so look at that whenever you get a chance.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and he was just kind of like inspiring about like where he started.
Yeah.
As he said, like he was Dr. Greene's student, and then he went from Dr. Greene's student to now he's like an assistant professor over at UNC Chapel Hill. He's teaching what he loves to do, right? So it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like inspiring to see like how like one professor can kind of like mentor you or guide you and to lead you into doing something that you're so passionate about and that you love. So it
Yeah.
was really great hearing him speaking to him and learning from him. So that
Yeah.
was really my big takeaway.
Great. Great. And Tyree, I remember the very first time he was about 19, maybe 20, when he told me he was in my it was in the introductory poetry class. He said, yeah, I don't know if he called me Rob. I think he called me Rob at the time. He said, Rob, I want to, maybe call him Professor Greene. I don't know, but he said, I want to do this for a living. I said, well, that's great. I think you should look into that. We all have to have jobs, so let's talk about that after the program, and maybe we'll have you join us on Raleigh Review if you make an A in my class. And he A plus all the way. But yeah, he's obviously has gone on and done so many great things with his work. He's gone on and done so many great things with his work that he he's now in a position that if I need a recommendation, I can ask him. Right? So he doesn't have to ask me anymore. He's now reached a point where I can ask him for a recommendation for me to kind of get a fellowship or whatever one day. But yeah, so it's just kind of great. That's when you know the professor's done his job, when his students can recommend it. And that also means that the students have done their job, right? That means mainly that the students have done their work if they get to a point where they can recommend their own professor. So that's pretty cool, I think. But yeah, I'm real proud of him, and hopefully we'll have him back, come back here with us after midterm. But right now for Friday, we have Lindsay Lake lined up. And I wanted to show you guys something. I put that reading list, thanks Chris, is on Blackboard. Tyree's reading list is out there. But I want to show you guys just something that I found that I think is kind of interesting here. Now, George Plimpton, Paris Review founder and longtime editor. I think he worked on Paris Review for 49 years before he ultimately passed away. But let's just view his kind of like a snapshot of his career and his life and all that. Um, Here is a founder who came from really rich connections. I mean, friends with the Kennedys, can trace his ancestry back to the Mayflower, New England kind of boarding school of Exeter, um, and just really kind of like on that path of really kind of a nice, easy kind of path, because he never had to worry about a meal, right? Never had to worry about a meal or anything like that growing up. His main thing was being a success, and that's what he had to kind of convince his father of, that he was. But his main job was, I mean, to try to raise money and to edit the Paris Review, which he admitted years later, toward the end of his life, that if he had all the money that he gave Paris Review over those 49 years, he could buy, I think it was an island So it's just one of those instances that I'm just like, I have nothing in common with his growing up or anything like that. Nothing in common with that. I grew up really kind of just hand to mouth, kind of just trying to catch my meal, and whether I'm fishing or shrimping or whatever, growing up as a kid, um, and dodging all kinds of like situations that got out of hand, just completely kind of in a dangerous area. But as a kid, but here you have, but so I have nothing in common with his upbringing, but I totally respect him coming out and admitting that he had kicked down to support his magazine, right? Because that's the reality. I mean, imagine if he hadn't done that. Imagine if he had bragged all these years about how Paris Review, it's a great magazine. It was a great magazine. I think it's not, I mean, it's not where it was when he was the editor, but it's still a great magazine. But imagine if he had come out and said what a lot of editors do. They boast about subscriptions off the wall, off the charts, and they kind of hide the fact that they have to kick down to support their magazines. They hide the fact they don't share it because a lot of people don't understand that whole thing. They don't understand it, but we do it for the art, right? We do it for the art. We do it to promote others. We do this work because when we find something, we want to share it. And also the people we're working with feel the same way. And they'll move on, and get other opportunities and everything because of this kind of organization, this kind of magazine of promoting others and working in a selfless manner of promoting the best work, right? So, and works to kind of convey empathy and understanding among neighbors, whether across the street or across the globe, right? So it's one of these instances where we have Plimpton, who comes from extraordinarily elite kind of means, but yet he is, when he said he gave the Paris Review money, that kind of gave all the rest of us uh, someone to point to and said, here, we have him. And he could afford to do it, and he did it, but never did he kind of make any money at running Paris Review for 49 years. But still, he helped a lot of people. He helped a lot of people kind of launch their careers, and he helped a lot of people kind of maintain their careers. So let's take a look at his kind of quick video here, real quick. And it's just a clip. It's a trailer of his American Masters film on PBS. Let's take a look at this real quick.
Your father was a well-known lawyer. You trace your ancestry back to the Mayflower and great literary friendship you found in the magazine. You've had a chance to pursue every young man's fantasy. Well, I want you to be candid and tell me about George Plimpton. For those of you who haven't heard of Plimpton, I suppose it's fair to think that most of you haven't, it's a little difficult to know where to begin an introduction. Plimpton's a writer. He is an editor of the Paris Review. And after that, he's, well, a collector of experiences. Experiences like boxing Archie Moore, playing quarterback for the Detroit Lions, or percussion for the New York Philharmonic under Leonard Bernstein. The list could go on and on. It's obvious, of course, that no one could be that good, and Plimpton certainly isn't.
This here's your warrant, mister.
George Plimpton. And today, they will be joined in their campaign spectacular by Mr. George Plimpton.
I'm a participatory journalist, which means that I enter other people's professions in order to write articles and books on what happens. It's like a type of transformation. You become what you want to become. But as you can see, I am not properly constituted to fight. And not only that, but I suffer from something called sympathetic response, which means that if you're hit, you weep.
I remember seeing a letter from Hemingway to a friend of mine saying, "This kid is the real thing."
And I thought, well now, this is what I'm going to do in life.
George, on paper, found an audience. His use of language was formal.
I decided finally to pack the football.
What do your literary friends think of all this dabbling in sports? Is that slumming as far as they're concerned, or do they think it's an exhilarating thing?
I don't think there's any name you could name that he had either befriended or published in the Paris Review.
The Paris Review staff has no formal meetings, but it has lots of informal ones.
As much of a patrician as George was, he liked people to let loose.
Everybody showed up.
He lived for that. He loved every pair of adoring eyes.
Jacqueline Kennedy was an old friend of his. I think George may have gone out with her.
Like my father, he saw life as a great adventure. George never wanted to lose his chance.
I turned and saw a girl leaning over the rail of the grandstand behind me. I looked at her out of my helmet. Then I lifted a hand, just tentatively.
Tomorrow is going to be the decision as to which direction California is going to go in. Which direction really the United States might go in. Which direction George Plimpton will go in. All of these major questions.
So yeah, here you have a man who fought Archie Moore, who played swingman for the Boston Celtics, who played quarterback for the Detroit Lions, who played triangle in Bernstein's orchestra, who I mean, the list goes on and on. The experiences he was able to collect because of his kind of connections, which no fault of his own. He just had that privilege, right? He had that privilege because he grew up with connections. I mean, he was friends with Bobby Kennedy, really good friends with Bobby Kennedy. And he was going to be the next president after he was, after JFK. Well, I think a little further down the line, but he was assassinated. Not assassinated, but killed by someone mentally ill, but just didn't have proper medication or whatever, but proper treatment. But Bobby Kennedy was friends with him, and he was friends with, of course, a lot of powerful people, but still George Plimpton had to kick down to support his magazine, right? Which is just, it's great that he admitted that, because I think about the times when I have had to tell people that I've done the same thing. It's been a mixed reaction. Those who matter to me understand. They understand, and they're still with me a decade later, right? So those who know that I've done that and understand and know that it's just part of the deal are still with me. Those who didn't understand, more than likely were looking out for themselves, and I never do that, or I can't believe you do that. That's so embarrassing, or whatever. They'll never understand, right? They'll never understand because they're into promoting themselves, right, over the art, right? So my whole point of this kind of talk is to show you guys, here we have someone who had all those experiences, a collector of experiences, so he could write about it, right? He wrote Paperline that was based on his experiences, quarterback, quote unquote quarterback, for the Detroit Lions, where I think he went in for one play, right? So, but he was kind of crushed there, but yeah. My background area has feedback, ATM. Okay, I don't know what that means. All right, so Chris, I was just wondering, what are your thoughts on George Plimpton? What do you think? That's a pretty kind of neat kind of life that
He sounds like he's a man of many talents.
he was what? He was what? He was
Sounds
what?
like he's a man of many talents. Kind of just sounds like he's kind of all over the place, doing a lot of things, but he's doing it for important reasons. He's trying to support his paper,
His magazine. He did all this for funding for his magazine.
right?
Yeah, He did all of it. He did all of
Yeah.
it. He went on, did ridiculous commercials, all of that. I mean, just, you got to love the guy. And the last poem I
Right.
wrote was last night, and it was called The Plimpton Effect, right? It was called The Plimpton Effect, and how him kind of doing that, admitting that he had kicked down Forbes magazine, and he did all these ridiculous kind of, not ridiculous, but they were great. I mean, anyone would take those opportunities, right? To get in the ring with Archie Moore. I mean, and just kind of like, even though he had the weeping sympathetic response that he couldn't, if he was hit, he wept, right? But Plimpton did. But to have that opportunity, right, to kind of have those experiences, anyone would jump at that opportunity, I think. I mean, I probably wouldn't do a lot of the things that, I have opportunities to meet people and stuff like that, but I don't take them because I'm not, I kind of tend to stay to myself. But if I wish I was able to get out and like meet the governor and meet different people and things like that, but I just don't have that kind of ability. I'm invited to meet him occasionally, but I just don't. I never do go. I just not. I mean, especially now, but even before COVID, I didn't go. I had to take those opportunities to meet the governor, so, or to meet, other people and things like that. But George had that kind of ability. He was good at it, and I wish I had that, but I not yet. I don't have it yet. But that's something that I really admire about him. But of course, he grew up without having to worry about very much, besides impressing his father, besides keeping his father off his back about his grades and stuff like that. But that was his main kind of concern. But still, you can't fault the guy for it. He still did a lot of good with his magazine, um, with kind of admitting to that fact that he kicked down to support his kind of magazine, which is so much to admire there. Man of many talents. He did. Yeah, he was. So not only was he a writer, but could kind of be around people, right? Which is a talent, right? It's a talent to be able to kind of be very kind of just able to handle a crowd. I think that's a talent. I don't think that comes natural to everyone. It doesn't come natural to me. I think that's a talent. But yeah, it's just that kind of deal. And what did I have there on that whole kind of response there here, course content. So here in the short clip, he revealed the editor and founder of Paris Review, George Plimpton. Plimpton played quarterback, friends with JFK, RFK, and Jackie. Collector of experiences he was. He hosted late night shows, and he starred in commercial after commercial. Don't feel bad for Plimpton. Because he made his money the old-fashioned way. He inherited it, right? So that's the old-fashioned way of making your money. This is just an example to show you how difficult literary publishing can be. Still, we do this work for the art itself, not to make money. If money comes, that's great, but it hasn't happened for very many literary magazines ever, I don't think. Like I told you guys last time, a lot of good ones are shutting down after 20 and 30 years doing this, right? So we may never gain the experiences such as Plimpton had both privilege and honor to attain his social standing. That is okay. We have our own experiences and we are earning those on our own. This is way more admirable, in my opinion. The teaching jobs and speaking engagements and other opportunities will come, and you all are taking the correct steps to immerse yourselves in this field. To gain work experience prior to graduation is something all employers want to see of recent graduates. Congratulations on taking this step. So yeah, it's just kind of like a little, I don't have an assignment tied to this or anything. I don't think I do. No, I don't. It's just a little mashup video. But yeah, so that's kind of my talking. See what Gia is going on here real quick. Okay, Gia, so you can listen to that. You can watch that clip later on, but Um, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to share that with you guys today and see kind of if you had any questions or anything. I just wanted to, I'm kind of, now let me go back to stop sharing my screen. Now, I want you guys to know that this is an overview internship where you're coming in, you're learning all you can, right? You're learning all you can. The next semester, I'm hoping for more kind of like specialized training where you will specialize in a kind of field or topic or whatever. Or Gia, in your case, since you're graduating, that you may want to join us in some capacity on our team, kind of like we had Garrett join us as copy editor. So we would want maybe you to think about maybe joining us in that capacity on on a kind of a specialized kind of seated placement with us. So yeah, and Chris, you'll be around another semester. So the hope is that this training next semester will be more specialized. It may include St. Augustine's magazine. I'm really trying hard to get that kind of approved and everything. I'm not pushing it anymore. I'm just kind of just like it's out there. They know I want to launch it. It's ready to launch, and I'm just kind of waiting for the go ahead on it. But so I'm not pushing it. I'm just kind of just. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't want to. I mean, it's not the time to do that. So not the time to push in anyone right now on anything emerging at this time. But if that doesn't happen, St. Augustine's magazine doesn't happen next semester, then there's always um, specializing in a topic and gaining way more experience with Raleigh Review than you're able to get right now. But this is just an overview course. I'm inviting speakers to come in and all of that. But you also have skill calls with the editors that you're going to come in and ask your questions. And these Friday talks will just be very much geared that way, that you'll ask questions of the speaker and all of that. And they'll be happy to talk to you about their role in the creative writing field as well as with Raleigh Review, right? So they'll be happy to. You just got to come with questions and all that. And the reason we got off the call at I think 25 minutes into Tyree's call is we had no more questions for Tyree. Tyree kind of answered everything really, really succinctly and really kind of thoroughly. So we kind of got through all Chris's questions, but I'm sure Chris will have more. And Gia, I know you'll have some too when Tyree's back. But do you guys have any questions at all about kind of the class or anything that you're learning? Yeah, I'm introducing you to the tools that we use, and those terms should come second nature to you by after midterm. So, any questions at all on those things? Chris? Excuse me.
No questions.
Okay. Gia? I think Gia's having technical issues right now, but that's all you guys have. It is 12:30. I know it's Monday, but that's all I had for us today to kind of just get another example in of of um, of of just someone who has been there for 49 years running Paris Review and who still just you know just made it work. Made it work. It's still going. That magazine's still going. So he obviously did a lot of things right, because a lot of magazines die with the editor, right? So I mean, I would imagine if something happened to me, Raleigh Review may continue for a little while, but it may continue. I don't know. We kind of built it in a way that it will continue, but still, with all the passwords and domain names and all that we got to kind of keep track of and everything else. It's I've got all that in a file. If I were to get sick or whatever, then all that would go to the editors and the board, and they'd be able to kind of keep running it if they wanted to, or maybe give it to the university. I don't know what they would want to do at that point, but But yeah, so but a lot of magazines die with the editor, but the Paris Review has managed to continue on. I think Plimpton passed away back in, I want to say 2003, something like that. So it's been running now for 18 years without him. So yeah, but so any more questions? You guys don't have anything? I'm gonna let you go then, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday back here. We will be covering some of the business side of like the bookkeeping and everything else that I'll show you guys. That I'll wait to do the books with you um, on Blackboard on Zoom. So I'll share my screen. I'll show you kind of how I do all that in QuickBooks and everything else to get ready to file sales and use taxes and all that. It's really business kind of side, but we got to make sure everything is compliant, everything is lined up, because even though it's not a quote unquote business that no one's making any money at, besides writers are getting a little bit of money, and you know, each staff member gets a little money for Wi-Fi. There's no and everyone gets their art. I mean, those that we accept get a great publication. So there are winners in this, but there's no, it's not a job, and per se, it's not a job. I mean, I think we covered that, but still we have to operate like a business, you know, so we have to keep the financial books in order. We have to keep the taxes, sales and use taxes paid to the states and the counties. So you have to file those. So show you guys kind of how that happens next class. So it's it'll be fun though. We'll make it fun. Okay. I'll let you guys kind of look, see the inside of our kind of books and all that. So it'll be kind of fun. Okay. So see you guys on Wednesday. All right. See you guys on Wednesday. Yep.
All right.
See you guys, Chris. See you, Gia. So long.